Okay, this is an extra problem for chapter 11, the replacement study. The problem here, it is about an equipment that has a first cost is 10,000 and the estimated operating cost given in the table with the salvage values. The question asks you to determine the economic service life for the interest rate 10% per year. So we have a number of years, 5, and we have the operating cost for each year and the salvage value for those years, as well as we have the first cost for that equipment. To solve this problem, we need to recall what was the requirement or how we proceed with the economic service life. In the economic service life, we will have to find the annual worth for every single year, and then considering the operating cost given for that year and for the salvage value. When you move to the years over and over, you have to consider the cumulative operating years. For example, if you are calculating the annual worth for year 2, that means you have to consider the operating cost for year 1 in addition to the operating cost for year 2. And you have to consider the salvage for year 2 as well. But for year 1, you don't consider it for year 2 because the salvage value consider once at the end of the lifetime. So if we are working on year 3, for example, we have to consider the operating cost for all the years 1, 2, and 3, in addition to the salvage value for the third year. And all the time we have to consider the first cost, which is the initial cost. We convert them to an annual. Every time we calculate the annual for year 1 until year 5 until we find what is the economic service life, which means the lowest annual worth for all these 5 years. To proceed with the answer, so let's do the answer here. So we will start with annual worth for year 1, which equal to minus 10K exactly. Thank you, Shadi. A given P for 10% minus the $1,000, which is the operating cost, plus 7,000, which is the salvage, for 1 year because it is only year 1, and that will equal to minus 5,000. Yes, exactly. Thank you. For the second year, we will do the annual worth for year 2, and that equal to again minus 10,000. A given P 10% for 2 years minus 1,000 P given F. Why P given F? Because now we have the annual for year 1 in addition to the annual for year 2. Okay? So we have to convert the annual on year 1 into present first because the annual here, year by year, is not constant for all the years. Each year has a different operating cost. So we can refer it as a operating cost instead of annual, so you don't get confused. Okay? This is multiplied with the A given E 10% 2 years. Plus, now we take the salvage value and the annual operating for the second year, we can combine them both together. And that can be done here as I will show you now. Since both of them are located on the second year, minus 1,200, A given F 10% for 2 years, that is equal to minus 4,476. This is for the annual worth for year 2. Now, the question may ask why we are having the here the 1,000. The 1,000 here, this is for the annual for year 1, and it is maybe the question, okay, why we didn't use it as it was previously in year 1? We didn't convert it. Yes, because it was annual for 1 year, and the number of years for the study, it is only 1 year. But now we have the study for 2 years, but the annual is different. For every year, we have a different operating cost. It is operating cost yearly, but is not annual, that a constant for all the years it's equal. Each year has a different value. So when we calculate the annual worth for year 2, we have to consider that the operating cost on year 1 is not annual. It becomes as a single value on year 1. It has to be converted to present first, using P given F, and then converted to an annual for 2 years. Where is the 1,200? It is an operating cost, but placed on year 2, not on year 1, because year 1, the operating cost was different. And also the salvage, it is placed on year 2, not year 1, because it comes at the end of the life cycle. Since both of them are placed on year 2, we can subtract them and then convert them A given F. Why we didn't convert it to present? And then, because they already at the end of the life cycle. They are already on the last year. And if you are in the last year in the cash flow, it is easier to convert it from annual to from future to annual than convert it to present and then from present to an annual again. So it will be easier to do it in this step, and that's the explanation why we did it for year 2 in this manner. So we will continue now for year 3. Equal minus 10,000 given P 10%, 3 years, minus 1,000 P given F 10% for 1 year plus P given F 10% for 2 years, and then it will appear for in a minute after I finish the formulation, so you can see it in the board, because the blackboard shows the typing after I complete all the formula. That's 4,100 minus that equals to okay. So now again for year 3 we have the initial cost that is fixed for all the years, which is the first cost is the 10,000, and now it is for 3 years because the number of years is 3. The operating cost, now we have 3 different operating costs. Each operating cost placed in a different year. The 1,000 placed on year 1, and we have to convert it to present first, and then we can convert it to an annual. For the 1,200 also, we have to convert it to a present, and then we can convert it to an annual. Since both of them are going to convert it in present, which is year 0, both of those two values, which is the operating cost for year 1 and operating cost for year 2, they will be on year 0 after this formulation. And that's why we have a bracket for both of them, because both of them, they will be at year 0. If they are in year 0, they can be added to each other because they are at the same year after they are converted to year 0. Now, when we multiply them to this converter, A given P, 10% for 3 years, that means this value for the operating cost of year 1 and operating cost of year 2 is being converted to an annual for 3 years. What remains to us now is the 4,500, which is the salvage value that appeared on year 3, and the annual cost for the 3rd year, or the operating cost for the 3rd year, which is the 1,300. Both of those two values are on year 3, and if they are both of them in the same year, we can subtract them, and then we multiply them with a converter, which is A given F for 3 years. Again, why it is A given F? Because they are placed at the end of the cash flow, and instead of convert them to present and then to annual, we can convert them to an annual using A given F, since they are already on the last year in the cash flow. After you add them all up, the value or the answer is, this is the answer here. So this is equal to the 3,819. Okay, let's take the questions. Yes, Yusuf?
In the slides, he used another method, so I was a little confused.
It's not a different method. It is the same method. The only thing, instead of having each value separated and calculated separately, here combining the values that placed on the same year. So if you would like to break these down, you will have the 1,000 minus value, P given F for 10% for 1 year, times the A given P, 10% and 3 years, minus 1,200 P given F, again times A given P. So it is the same. Here it is just shorting the values that comes in the same year, but it's the same value. We are using value of money or time value of money over the time. Yes, continue your question.
Doctor, in the example in the slides, the value like the annual operating cost for annual work 2, 1,200, he converted to present, then he calculate the annual.
Okay, and what is the confusion here for you? Where, in which part?
For the annual operating cost يا دكتور فوق.
Which one of them?
هو برضه في الانوال 3، بس انا اللي قصدي يعني انه في السلايد هو متعامل مع الانوال اوبريتنج كوست اللي يكون يعني at the end of the year بيحوله لبريزنت، بعدين بيطلع منه
Yes, both of them are correct. There is no wrong, as we said here. it would be easier for you to do this, but you can do this way. You can have the 4,500 P given F for 10% for 3 years, and then it is time to A given P for 10% for 3 years. You mean this?
Yes.
Yes, okay, it is the same. As we said, the A given F and P given the A given P and the A given F, both of them can work the same if the value that is required or it is needed, it is at the end of the cash flow diagram. So it is on either side. If it was present and you want to convert it to an annual, or if it is in the future and you want to convert it to an annual. Both of them work the same. A given P and A given F, in both cases for the 3 years, it works for either side. It is fine. So if you want to use it this way, it is okay. The answer, it will not be different. And that's why you can repeat these answers again and try it yourself in the way you prefer, whether using the P given F or A given F. As I said also here in this side, you can break down this bracket and have it separate. The 1,000 for the annual for the first year and the annual for the second year, you can deal with them separately and try to solve it yourself. This is a way of solving, but it's under the same method, which is the value of money, which is change the value of money over the time. I will place the values for annual worth for year 4 and annual worth for year 5, and you may confirm then your answers with the same or with different formulation that you use for the same values of the cash flow given in the table. So we will place the annual worth for year 4 equal to minus 3,470, 3,847, and the annual worth for 5 equal to 3,921. If we ask what would be now the economics and service life, what is the ESL for this problem, we will look for the annual worth that has the lowest value, which means that is the lowest serving or economical serving, which will be ESL equal 3 years. That means after 3 years, the service of that machine, it will not be economical because the cost will be increased again, and it will be more than how much it's worth. Now, changing or keeping, this is something else. You have to compare it with the cost of the other alternatives you are going to replace with, using the replacement study we have covered today. But this is to only calculate the life or the economical service life for the product, giving that the operating, salvage cost, and the initial cost of that equipment. I hope that was clear, and if you have any questions, please ask while we do the attendance.